The anomaly appeared on Deep Space Station Epsilon's sensors at precisely 300 hours station time. Chief Sensor Officer Zaxel's primary eyes widened while her secondary pair focused intently on the readouts streaming across her crystalline display. In 15 cycles of service, she had never seen energy signatures like these. Station Commander. Her voice carried across the hexagonal command center, causing several of her fellow Arctians to twitch their sensory stalks in her direction. Unknown vessel detected at the edge of the Crimson Nebula. Energy readings are impossible. Commander Venera glided across the polished floor on his gravity disk, his iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to an anxious green. Impossible how? Officer Zaxtal. The power output, sir. It's either masked somehow, or she manipulated the controls with her four-fingered hands, bringing up a comparative analysis. If these readings are accurate, that single ship is generating more power than our entire defense fleet combined. The command center fell silent. Even the usual soft humming of the Arctians' communication frequencies ceased as all eyes turned to the main view screen. The vessel hung there against the backdrop of space, its dark hull seeming to drink in the light from nearby stars. It was relatively small by their standards, perhaps only 400 meters in length, but something about its design spoke of deadly purpose. Configuration matches no known species in our database, reported Junior Officer Kex. Hull composition is, sir, our scans can't penetrate it. It's like the readings just slide off. Commander Venera's scales shifted to a deeper green. Location: just inside the outer rim border, sir. Technically in neutral space, but close enough to our territory to be concerning. The commander studied the image, his military training warring with his scientific curiosity. The ship's design was elegant but utilitarian, with no wasted space or decorative elements so common among the known spacefaring races. Smooth planes of dark material intersected at precise angles, and occasional pulses of energy rippled across its surface like lightning underwater. Sir, Zaxtal's voice cracked with alarm. Energy spike. There. The unknown vessel suddenly transformed. Panels that had seemed solid shifted and realigned, revealing weapon ports and sensor arrays that had been perfectly hidden. The power signature doubled, then tripled, as systems came online. By the first light, someone whispered. Venera's scales had gone almost white. Send an alert to High Command. Priority 1. And get me. Incoming transmission, Kex interrupted, his sensory stalks vibrating with tension. They're broadcasting on. Sir, they're using our own military frequencies. How did they? Put it through, Venera ordered, straightening his posture and trying to project calm he didn't feel. The view screen shifted, and collective gasps filled the command center. The being on the screen was unlike anything in their records. It stood upright like the Arctians, but there the similarities ended. Its skin was a pale color, with no scales or bioluminescence. 2 eyes only, set in a flat face with a curious collection of small, soft tentacles below its nose. When it spoke, its words came through in perfect Arctian standard. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Hyperion. We come in peace and request diplomatic contact. Venera's scientific mind raced even as he maintained his diplomatic composure. Earth. The word sparked something in his memory, ancient records from the time before his species had achieved faster-than-light travel. Rumors of a distant world whose inhabitants had mastered technology at an unprecedented rate, of a species that had gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than 3 centuries. I am Commander Venera of Deep Space Station Epsilon. Your arrival is unexpected, Captain Chen. Our records contain no mention of your species in this sector. The human's expression changed slightly. What Venera would later learn was called a smile. That's because we've never been here before, Commander. We've spent the last decade mapping the spaces between the known territories, preparing for proper first contact. Your ship, Venera said carefully, its capabilities are remarkable. The Hyperion is one of our newer vessels. Chen replied with what seemed like deliberate casualness. We believe in being honest about our capabilities from the start. No deception, no hidden agenda. We're here to open diplomatic relations, but we also want potential allies to understand exactly who they're dealing with. Before Venra could respond, Zaxtal called out again. Sir, multiple ships dropping out of FTL. It's the 7th Defense Fleet. 12 Archean warships materialized around the station, their weapons powered but not targeted. Standard procedure for an unknown contact situation. But Venra felt his anxiety spike. How would these humans react to what could be seen as an aggressive response? Captain Chen's expression hadn't changed. Impressive response time, Commander. Your fleet moves well together. Perhaps once the diplomatic formalities are concluded, we could arrange some joint exercises. The casual way she ignored the implicit threat of 12 warships surrounding her vessel sent chills down Venra's spine. Either the humans were foolishly overconfident, or, Sir, Kex whispered, their power levels haven't changed at all. They're not even raising shields. Or they were so far beyond the Archeans technologically that 12 warships posed no threat at all. Captain Chen, Venra said, choosing his words carefully, we would be honored to begin diplomatic discussions. However, I must ask, why now? Why this sector? The human captain's expression grew serious. Because what's coming affects us all, Commander. We've detected something out there in the dark between galaxies, something that makes our arrival here rather urgent. If you're willing to listen, we have quite a story to tell you. As Venra looked at the strange human on his screen and the mysterious ship that had appeared from nowhere with technology that defied their understanding, he had a feeling that the galaxy was about to change forever. Whether that change would bring enlightenment or destruction remained to be seen. The conference room aboard Deep Space Station Epsilon had never hosted such an unusual gathering. Commander Venera sat at one end of the curved table, his scales now a neutral blue of professional calm. Across from him, Captain Chen and her first officer, Commander David Martinez, represented humanity. The stark differences in their biology made the Archeans' sensory stalks twitch with barely contained curiosity. 3 years ago, Chen began, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the table. Our deep space telescopes detected something unusual in the void between galaxies. The hologram showed a region of apparently empty space, then zoomed in to reveal subtle distortions. At first, we thought it was an instrument malfunction. These patterns, Venra leaned forward, his scientific background asserting itself. They're not natural. No, Martins confirmed, his dark eyes serious. They're weak signatures, massive ones. Something big is moving out there, deliberately staying in the spaces between star systems where most species don't bother to look. Admiral Caxthor, who had arrived with the defense fleet, flexed his ceremonial battle claws. You expect us to believe you came to our sector because of some anomalous readings in intergalactic space. Chen's response was to adjust the hologram. New images appeared, satellite photos, sensor readings, and what appeared to be ruins on distant worlds. These sites are spread across 12 different systems, spanning 3 sectors of space. The oldest ruins date back roughly 50,000 years. The newest. She paused meaningfully. 300 years ago. The implication sent a wave of color-shifting anxiety through the Archean officials. Every few thousand years, advanced civilizations simply vanished, their worlds left as silent monuments to something horrible enough to make entire species abandon their homes. We'd found similar ruins, Venra admitted quietly. Our archaeologists classified them as victims of natural disasters or internal conflicts. As did we at first, Martinez said. But the pattern became clear once we started looking. Something moves through the galaxy in cycles, eliminating advanced civilizations that might pose a threat. It stays in the darkness between stars, watching, waiting, until it decides a species has become too advanced. If what you say is true, Admiral Caxthor's scales had shifted to a troubled purple. Why haven't they struck at humanity? Your technology clearly exceeds what we've seen in most of these ruins. Chen smiled grimly. Because we learned to hide in plain sight. The Hyperion's capability to mask its true power signature isn't just for dramatic reveals. Every human settlement, every warship, every colony appears far less advanced than it actually is. To long-range sensors, Earth itself looks like a moderately developed world, nothing that would draw attention. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just achieved remarkable technological advancement. They'd learned to conceal it, preparing for a threat they'd only recently confirmed. The ruins we found, Venra said slowly, some contained references to guardians. Protectors who would return when needed. We dismissed them as religious texts, but maybe they weren't myths at all. Chen finished. We'd found similar references. We believe previous victims of these attacks managed to leave warnings, hoping someone would eventually piece it all together. Martins brought up new holographic images, these showing the Hyperion's true capabilities. The Arxians watched in amazement as layers of technology far beyond their understanding were revealed. What they had thought was merely an advanced warship was, in fact, a technological marvel that defied their comprehension. Our quantum shielding doesn't just protect against weapons, Martinez explained. It can bend light, mask energy signatures, even create the illusion of damage or weakness. The hull isn't just armor. It's a single quantum-entangled structure that can reconfigure itself at will. And you're sharing this with us, why? Admiral Caxthor demanded. If secrecy is your defense, why reveal yourselves now? Because the patterns are accelerating, Chen said grimly. The time between attacks is growing shorter. We estimate no more than 5 years before whatever's out there makes its move. Humanity is advanced, yes, but we're not arrogant enough to think we can face this alone. We need allies who understand the threat and are willing to prepare. You're proposing an alliance. Venra's scales shifted to thoughtful green. More than that, Chen stood, her posture formal. We're proposing a complete technological and military partnership. We'll help you advance your defensive capabilities, teach you our masking techniques, prepare your people for what's coming. In return, we need your expertise in this sector of space, your established diplomatic channels with neighboring species, and your help in convincing others of the threat. Admiral Caxthor's battle claws clicked together softly. The Council will need proof. Concrete evidence, not just theories and ancient ruins. That's why we came in person, Martins said, manipulating the hologram one final time. A new image appeared, showing something massive moving through the darkness between stars. The recording was grainy, distant, but the sense of scale and purpose was undeniable. This was captured by one of our deep space probes 2 months ago. Whatever's out there, it's changing course, heading into the galaxy proper for the first time in recorded history. The Arxians stared at the image, their scales shifting through various colors of shock and concern. The shape was vast, easily the size of a small moon, and moved with an unsettling purposefulness that spoke of intelligence and intent. We estimate it will reach populated space within 5 years, Chen said quietly. Less if it accelerates. We have that long to prepare, to gather allies, to ready our defenses. The question is, will you stand with us? Commander Venera looked at the human captain, seeing past the alien features to recognize the same determination and concern he felt. Whatever their differences, whatever challenges lay ahead in combining their technologies and cultures, the threat they faced was real. 3 months after first contact, Deep Space Station Epsilon had transformed. Human engineering teams worked alongside Arxian technicians, integrating advanced technology that would have seemed like magic mere weeks ago. The station's command center, once filled with crystalline displays and gravity disks, now featured quantum-linked holographic interfaces and neural adaptive control systems. Captain Chen watched from the observation deck as the Hyperion conducted maneuvers with 3 Arxian warships. The alien vessels had received preliminary upgrades to their sensor and stealth systems, though full integration of human technology would take years they didn't have. The 7th Fleet crews are adapting well, Commander Martinez observed, joining her at the viewport. Their natural ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously makes them excellent candidates for our neural interface systems. Better than we expected, Chen agreed, but her expression remained troubled. Any word from the Deep Space Monitoring Network? Martinez's face darkened. 3 more colonies gone dark in the past week, all in the direction of the anomaly's approach vector. No distress calls, no signs of battle. They just went silent. The door whispered open, admitting Commander Venra. The Arxian scales showed bands of anxiety purple mixed with determination blue. Captain, we've completed analysis of the quantum wake signatures. You need to see this. They moved to a nearby holographic terminal where Zaxtel, now chief of the Joint Sensor Operations Team, had prepared her findings. The display showed a 3-dimensional map of known space, with dozens of red markers indicating vanished colonies and settlements. We thought they were random, Zaxtel explained, her sensory stalks quivering with excitement and fear. But look what happens when we apply the quantum temporal filter you provided. The map shifted, and suddenly the pattern became clear. The disappearances formed a spiral, moving inward toward the heart of populated space. They're hurting us, Chen said quietly, like cattle into a pen. That's not the worst part. Venra's scales shifted to pure anxiety purple. Based on the pattern progression and your quantum wake analysis, we can project their ultimate target. A new point illuminated on the map, pulsing with ominous purpose. Martinez swore softly. Earth. They're heading for Earth. Not just Earth, Zaxtel corrected. The spiral pattern encompasses every major homeworld of every spacefaring species in this sector. Earth is simply the most technologically advanced target. The humans exchanged glances. They had suspected something like this, but confirmation made it no easier to accept. Their enemy wasn't just eliminating advanced civilizations. It was systematically targeting the species most capable of mounting an effective resistance. How long? Chen asked. At current speed, 4 years, 2 months until they reached the first major population centers, Zaxtel reported. But the rate of colony disappearances is accelerating. They may arrive sooner. An alert tone chimed through the station. Admiral Caxthor's image appeared on a nearby display. Captain Chen, we're receiving reports from the Outer Rim Defense Network. Multiple contacts detected in the dark space corridor. Energy signatures match nothing in our database. Show me, Chen ordered. The holographic display shifted to show real-time sensor data from the defense network. Dozens of objects were emerging from the darkness between stars, their forms somehow wrong in ways that defied easy description. They moved with an organic fluidity that suggested living vessels, yet their energy signatures spoke of technology far beyond even humanity's understanding. Size comparison, Martins requested. The display zoomed out. Chen's jaw tightened as she saw the scale. The smallest of the unknown vessels was larger than the Hyperion. The largest dwarfed anything in known space. They're not due for another 4 years. Venra's scales had gone almost white with shock. Unless these aren't the main force, Chen finished grimly. They're scouts. Advance units testing our defenses. As if confirming her words, the unknown vessels began moving with clear purpose toward the nearest inhabited systems. Their formation was perfect, their coordination suggesting a level of unity that went beyond mere technological communication. Alert all commands, Chen ordered. Implement Emergency Protocol Omega. Get me a direct quantum link to Earth Command, and notify the Arxian High Council. We need every available ship mobilized within the next 48 hours. You think we can stop them? Venra asked quietly. Chen's expression was steel. No, but we can bloody them enough to make them reveal their true capabilities. That's what these scouts are for, to see how we fight, what weapons we use, how our technology has evolved. So we show them exactly what we want them to see. Understanding dawned in Venra's eyes, his scales shifting to tactical red. A deliberate deception. We reveal capabilities significant enough to draw their attention. But not our true strength. Martinez nodded. Let them think they know what they're facing. Signal the Hyperion, Chen commanded. Tell them to prepare for combat configuration Delta. It's time to show our visitors what an inferior human warship can do. As the station burst into activity, crews rushing to battle stations and emergency protocols engaging, Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The enemy had shown their hand too early, too eager to assess the defenses of their intended victims. But humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, developing technologies and strategies specifically designed to combat an overwhelming foe. The real question was, would it be enough? The Hyperion hung motionless in space, its dark hull absorbing the dim light of distant stars. Around it, 12 Archean warships maintained a defensive formation, their newly upgraded systems humming with power. On the bridge, Captain Chen stood at the tactical display, watching as the enemy scout fleet approached. Hostile vessels maintaining course, reported Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. 17 large contacts, 30+ smaller escorts. Energy readings are fluctuating in ways that don't make sense. They're probing our defenses, Martinez observed from his station, testing our sensor capabilities, seeing how much we can detect about their systems. The enemy ships were unlike anything in known space. Their hulls seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, organic curves blending with geometric patterns that hurt the eye to look at directly. They moved with perfect coordination, more like parts of a single organism than individual vessels. All ships maintain formation Delta, Chen ordered. Remember, we show them only what we want them to see. Standard weapons only, no quantum systems unless absolutely necessary. Commander Venra's image appeared on a nearby display, his scales a mix of tactical red and anxiety purple. Captain, the enemy fleet has entered weapons range. They're ignoring our hails completely. Not surprising, Chen replied grimly. They didn't come to talk. The first attack came without warning. Beams of coherent energy that seemed to bend reality itself lashed out from the leading enemy vessels. The Archean ships' shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed the impact, their upgraded defenses holding. Barely. Return fire. Conventional weapons only, Chen ordered. Let's see how they react to old-fashioned kinetic rounds. The Hyperion's weapon ports opened, launching salvos of accelerated tungsten rounds at relativistic speeds. The Archean ships added their own fire, energy beams, and plasma torpedoes streaking across space. Several shots struck home, impacting the lead enemy vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the enemy ship's fluid hull simply absorbed the damage, reforming as if the attacks had never landed. Well, Martinez said dryly, that's not ideal. The enemy response was immediate and devastating. Their formation shifted like a shoal of fish, presenting new angles of attack. Energy weapons of a dozen different types lashed out, each seemingly designed to test different defensive capabilities. 2 Archean ships vanished in balls of quantum fire as their shields failed. A third spun out of control, its hull breached in multiple places. The Hyperion shuddered as multiple hits bypassed its outer defenses. Hull integrity at 82%, reported engineering. Whatever they're using, it's partially penetrating our quantum shell. Chen's expression hardened. Signal the fleet, fall back to position Beta. Prepare to execute Maneuver Omega-7. As the Allied ships began their apparent retreat, the enemy fleet pressed their advantage, pursuing with predatory grace. They were so focused on their seemingly wounded prey that they failed to notice the subtle changes taking place in the Hyperion's hull structure. Enemy fleet has crossed the quantum marker, Martinez announced. All ships in position. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Now, the space around the Allied fleet suddenly warped as dozens of quantum mines, previously invisible to all sensors, detonated simultaneously. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to twist and fold, catching several enemy vessels in localized temporal distortions. All ships, execute attack pattern Sierra, Chen ordered. Show them what we can really do. The Hyperion's hull transformed, quantum-entangled plates shifting to reveal previously hidden weapon systems. The ship's power signature, previously masked to appear only moderately advanced, suddenly spiked to its true levels. The remaining Arxian vessels performed similar transformations, their human upgrades allowing them to tap into capabilities their builders had never dreamed possible. Energy beams that ignored conventional physics lashed out from the Hyperion's main guns, while temporal torpedoes created microsecond time differentials that tore enemy ships apart from the inside. The Arxian vessels added their own fire, their weapons now synchronized through quantum networks to achieve perfect targeting solutions. 3 enemy scouts disappeared in cascading explosions of exotic particles. 2 more, caught in the temporal distortions, seemed to age thousands of years in seconds, their hulls crumbling to dust. The remaining vessels attempted to regroup, but their perfect coordination was broken, their tactical advantage lost. Their formation is breaking down, Martins reported with grim satisfaction. They'd never encountered resistance like this before. But the enemy was far from defeated. The surviving vessels began to change, their fluid hulls flowing into new configurations. Energy readings spiked to levels that made the sensors scream in protest. All ships, brace for impact, Chen shouted as the enemy launched their counterattack. Reality itself seemed to burn as weapons beyond human understanding carved through space. The Hyperion's quantum shields flared white-hot, barely containing energies that could have cracked a planet. 2 more Arxian ships vanished, their crews managing to quantum teleport to safety seconds before their vessels were annihilated. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, engineering reported. Quantum core is stable but strained. We can't take many more hits like that. Chen studied the tactical display, noting how the enemy ships moved, how they adapted their attacks. Even in retreat, they were gathering data, learning, evolving their strategies. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Execute final phase. Let's make sure they take the right lessons from this encounter. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed once, sending out a wave of energy that made space itself shiver. The remaining Arxian ships responded in kind, their synchronized systems creating a cascade effect that lit up sensors across 12 star systems. The enemy fleet paused, perhaps sensing the trap, but it was too late. The quantum wave collapsed in on itself, creating a temporary pocket of altered spacetime that engulfed both fleets. For 3 seconds that seemed to last an eternity, conventional physics took a holiday. When reality reasserted itself, the surviving enemy vessels were scattered, their perfect formation broken, their hulls showing actual damage for the first time. Enemy fleet is retreating, Martins announced. They're opening some kind of dimensional rifts. They're gone. Chen let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Casualties. 5 Arxian ships lost, 3 severely damaged. The Hyperion's quantum core is strained but functional. Hull breaches are contained. 47 crew injuries reported across the fleet. But Martinez's voice held wonder. No fatalities. The quantum teleporters worked perfectly. And the enemy? 7 vessels confirmed destroyed. 3 more severely damaged before they retreated. We've got sensor data on everything, Captain. Their weapons, their defenses, their tactical patterns. More importantly, Chen said quietly, they have incomplete data about us. They saw some of our capabilities, but not all. Not nearly all. The bridge crew sat in exhausted silence, processing what they had just survived. They had bloodied the nose of an enemy that had terrorized galaxies for millennia. But this was just the beginning. Send word to Earth Command, Chen ordered. Tell them it started, and we're going to need a bigger fleet. 2 weeks after the battle, Deep Space Station Epsilon's command center buzzed with activity. New ships arrived hourly. Human vessels emerging from quantum space alongside Archean warships, and now representatives from a dozen other species, all drawn by the news of a force that had finally bloodied the legendary destroyers. Captain Chen stood before the assembled fleet commanders, the holographic display showing the true scope of what they faced. The main enemy fleet had accelerated its approach, abandoning stealth for speed. Hundreds of ships, each larger and more powerful than the scout vessels they'd encountered. The scout fleet served its purpose, she explained. They tested our defenses, gathered data on our capabilities. But they also revealed something crucial about themselves. She gestured, and the display zoomed in on a detailed analysis of the enemy vessels. They adapt. Every weapon we used, every tactic we employed, they learned from it. By the end of the battle, they were already developing countermeasures. Then we lost our advantage, an Archean admiral said, his scales dark with concern. No, Martinez stepped forward, his expression intense. We showed them exactly what we wanted them to see. Every weapon, every defensive system we deployed was specifically chosen to guide their evolution in a particular direction. Understanding dawned in Commander Venra's eyes, his scales shifting to tactical red. You've been planning this for generations. Everything, from hiding your true capabilities to the specific technologies you shared with us, was preparation for this moment, Chen confirmed. Humanity knew they were coming. We found the warnings left by previous civilizations, studied the patterns of destruction. We didn't just advance our technology. We developed it specifically to counter their adaptive capabilities. The holographic display shifted, showing new designs that made even the advanced alien commanders gasp. Ships unlike anything seen before, weapons that bent reality itself, defensive systems that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This is the true face of human military technology, Chen said quietly. What you've seen until now, even in the recent battle, was a carefully crafted deception. Our ships, our weapons, everything was designed to appear advanced enough to draw their attention, but not so advanced that they would perceive our full capabilities. And now, asked a reptilian commander from the Drachnid Empire. Martinez touched a control, and the display showed the approaching enemy fleet. Now we have them committed. Their main force is moving too fast to change course, too confident in the data from their scout fleet. They think they know what they're facing. All ships, battle stations, Chen ordered as alarms began to sound throughout the station. The enemy fleet will arrive in less than 6 hours. Time to show them humanity's real strength. The next 6 hours were a blur of activity as the combined fleet took up defensive positions. The Hyperion had been joined by 30 other human vessels, each one a technological marvel that defied conventional understanding. The Archean ships, now fully upgraded with quantum-enhanced systems, formed the second line of defense. Behind them, ships from a dozen other species waited, their crews both terrified and eager to face the legendary destroyers. When the enemy fleet arrived, it emerged from quantum space like a tide of living metal, hundreds of ships moving with that same unsettling coordination. Their vessels had evolved, incorporating defenses against every weapon they'd encountered in the previous battle. But they weren't facing the same weapons anymore. All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt, Chen commanded. The human fleet suddenly transformed. Ships that had appeared to be conventional warships shed their outer layers, revealing true forms that seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. The Hyperion itself became something that strained the eyes to look at, its quantum-entangled structure allowing it to exist in multiple states simultaneously. The enemy fleet's perfect formation faltered for the first time as their sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Before they could adapt, the human ships attacked. Reality itself seemed to cry out as weapons beyond current scientific understanding were unleashed. Temporal scissors cut enemy vessels in half across multiple timelines simultaneously. Quantum-entangled missiles struck their targets before they were fired. Dimensional inverters turned the enemy's adaptive capabilities against them, trapping them in recursive loops of evolution that led nowhere. The Archean fleet struck next, their hybrid technology allowing them to exploit weaknesses the humans had deliberately engineered into the enemy's defensive evolution. Other alien vessels joined the attack, each contributing their unique capabilities to a battle plan centuries in the making. For 3 hours, space itself burned as two technological extremes clashed. The enemy fought with all their terrible power, their weapons capable of erasing ships from existence, their defenses able to shrug off conventional attacks. But for the first time in their long history of destruction, they faced an opponent who had spent generations preparing specifically for them. Enemy fleet at 60% strength and falling. Martins reported, his voice tight with concentration, as he coordinated the quantum battle networks. Their adaptation algorithms are failing. They can't keep up with the number of new variables we're introducing. Chen watched as another group of enemy ships vanished, caught in a cascade of quantum effects that prevented them from adapting. Status of the containment field. Holding at 97% efficiency. They haven't detected the temporal pocket yet. They're still trying to retreat the way they came in. The trap was sprung perfectly. As the enemy fleet attempted to flee, they discovered that the space around them had been carefully prepared. Quantum fields overlapped with temporal distortions, creating a bubble of altered reality from which there was no escape. All ships, execute final attack pattern, Chen ordered. Let's finish this. The combined fleet moved as one, their attacks synchronized through quantum networks to strike from multiple points in space and time simultaneously. Enemy ships began to break apart, their adaptive capabilities overwhelmed by attacks that seemed to violate the laws of physics themselves. The battle ended not with a dramatic explosion, but with a series of quantum cascades that systematically dismantled the remaining enemy vessels. Their liquid metal hulls crystallized and shattered, their impossible weapons fell silent, and their coordinated movements degraded into chaos. In the end, the enemy fleet, the great destroyers that had terrorized galaxies for millennia, were reduced to scattered debris floating in space. Hours later, as the combined fleet conducted rescue operations and began cleanup, Chen stood with Venra in the station's observation deck, watching as ships from a dozen species worked together to secure their victory. You could have beaten them alone, Venra said, his scales showing patterns of wonder and respect. Why involve us at all? Chen smiled. Because the galaxy doesn't need more destroyers. It needs builders, collaborators, species who can work together to create something greater than themselves. Humanity didn't want to just defeat them. We wanted to change the very cycle of destruction they represented. And now we rebuild. We share knowledge, advance together. The quantum technologies we've developed, the temporal engineering, the dimensional mechanics, all of it can be used for more than just warfare. We can explore the spaces between galaxies, unlock the mysteries of reality itself. As they watched, a new ship emerged from quantum space, a vessel of clearly mixed human and Archean design, its hull gleaming with possibility. The destroyers thought advanced civilizations had to be eliminated to prevent them from becoming threats, Chen said softly. We're going to prove that advanced civilizations can work together to become something greater than the sum of their parts. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if acknowledging the dawn of a new era in galactic history, an era where humanity's greatest achievement wasn't the power of its weapons or the advancement of its technology, but its ability to unite diverse species in the face of extinction and forge them into something new, something better. The destroyers were gone, and in their wake they left not destruction, but hope. Hope for a future where the spaces between stars would be filled not with terror, but with the combined achievements of species working together to unlock the true potential of the universe itself.